Welcome to another episode of the Blueprint Roundtable. I'm your host, Chrissy Manzano, and today I have our extra special team members, Lizzie and Matt, with us. And today we want to talk about how do you keep going when times are so hard, when every time you turn a corner, it feels like no matter if I do everything perfect, things fall apart, right? That could be at work, life, whatever. Like, what do you do to keep yourself going daily, to restart the day, all those things? So, Lizzie, I'm going to throw that question over to you first.
Yeah. For me, I'm a very routine person. Like, Monday through Friday, I do the same routine every morning. And for me, it's just sticking with that routine, knowing that those X amount, however long it may be, a couple of hours before work is dedicated to myself and things that I enjoy doing. It really helps keep that flow of normalcy, especially when, like you said, really tough times going on right now. We're working in a market that's just all over the place, and knowing that I have X amount of time each morning just to go through the things, go to the gym, walk my dog, I journal every morning, watch the Today Show. Those things really help me start each morning on the right foot. Matt, curious what you think.
Yeah, I similar approach to some extent. I think when things get tough, I find myself leaning more into my hobbies just because it helps kind of reset and give me like a mental break. So similar to you, except I go to the gym like in the middle of the day. So I chunk my day up into first half, second half, which is a very tactical way to try to address things when times are tough or you're in a valley. I think moreover, I also kind of look longer term. So when things get tough, I just remind myself like, hey, 6 months ago, things were amazing. 6 months from now, things are going to be amazing again. It's very cyclical. And so I lean into the fact that the things I do today could set up that 6 month or 1 year period away where things are going to be, great again. And so I try to focus more strategically in that sense on what can I do today that may not impact this month, this quarter, maybe even this half, but will yield results down the line. And that's kind of a reactive thing to do, right? Is where I wait till the tough times to really try to set up to get out of them. But that's just sort of how I've kind of meandered through my career. It served me well. So that would be my more strategic answer.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think those are great. I mean, when times are tough, you have to protect your mental well-being. And, I know there's always this view of like, there's some people that are too cynical and some people that are too optimistic, right? I don't think you can be too optimistic in these times in the sense of, yes, you've got to deal with reality, right? But like being too cynical, being cynical doesn't help you often. I think we think that it helps us, become more pragmatic and realize that this is the reality. But it ends up really just kind of consistently spiraling versus you can surrender to the reality, right? Like, I think for me, it's like surrendering to it. This is what it is. I have no control. Let me focus on the things I do have control over. And then also, I think just remembering like, kind of like what you said, Laura, is like, it's not forever, right? I remember when I had my daughter and feeling, or even my son, right? And when anything would go wrong with them as a newborn, it's just, you're sleep deprived. It's all of these new changes, right? And things happening. And if he wasn't like eating well one day, I would just start to freak out because obviously eating at that stage is so important for gaining weight. And I'd have to remind myself, and I think just constantly resetting, it's been one day. It's not been weeks. It's been one day. And sometimes looking at like, okay, it's been hard for, 1 week or 3 months. That is small in the grand scheme of things. You can still feel it, but it's not something that's going to last, forever, right? Every storm ends. There's light, in every place. And I think it's, every day is new, right? And I think also just taking like the wins when you get them. So you got to, everything that can be a win, because that's what you've got to use to keep your, foundation going. But so I agree. Anything else you would add? Any advice for people like job seekers right now that are, having trouble finding that right job, or, even the hiring managers who are having trouble finding that specific person, and they're, every time the day goes by, people are losing money on both sides, companies because they're not selling, and then job seekers because they're not, getting money to pay the bills.
I think for job seekers, especially by the nature of what the three of us are doing on a daily basis, we talk to people that want to be in SaaS or tech or have been in and want to stay in. But I think, if you're really struggling to find the right opportunity, there's so many non-tech organizations, but that have traditional sales motions that could really benefit from somebody that's gone through a SaaS model and training and experience and everything else. And a lot of those companies do pay well, right? They may not have the cool perks or the hefty benefits that come with the startup, but they also don't come with as much of the risk, right? To be the last person or most recent person hired, and then, another round of layoffs and you may be gone. I would just encourage job seekers to maybe open their parameters and try avenues that previously you may not have thought about, and go after other organizations where you can still be in the same role that you love to do, but maybe you're just not servicing the same industry, or you're not selling as a service. But that to me would be a way to really kind of overnight just shift your ability to find roles, and then ideally, use your network to try to get in, because cold applications right now is tougher than ever. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
I agree with that too. I mean, last year I went through not 1, but 2 layoffs, and being on the job market, I guess within span of like almost 6 months difference, it was definitely a lot. But I think the biggest thing that I could tell anyone is like, all you can do is control what you can control.
Yeah.
I went from working with startups that were Series C, Series D, and instead I realized after like the second time I was laid off that I don't think I want to be in those atmospheres anymore. And I decided to pivot where I wanted to be, and now I landed up at Blueprint, and it's great. It's just, don't be afraid to take those risks and make a pivot. Because, for example, like I was wanting to be a recruiter, still being a recruiter. Now I'm a sourcer, but I'm happier than ever in it. And it's okay to not even settling, but it's okay to make that switch in your career to find a job that actually makes you happy in all aspects. And it doesn't mean you're taking a step back, but you're doing something that's good for you, and it's going to help you overall, I think, long term. So just try to keep that positive mindset, because you will find the perfect role that comes to you. And sometimes it just appears on your LinkedIn page, wherever you look for jobs, and then you'll be in a good spot again.
100%. Well said. Well said. I think, I hope everyone listening to this, and even for ourselves, right? If you're here today, you've survived. You've survived some really tough stuff that's happened, especially over the last 3 years to the masses, right? And I'm sure many people, no life is perfect, right? So we all have our valleys and challenges, whether they be similar or different. But like, if you're here, you've survived. This is something else we're going to survive, right? It's hard, but we're going to survive it. Every storm ends. There is light, right? We may not know when we see that light, but it will be there. And so just doing all those things to protect your mental health and not spiral. My last thing I would say is, don't go to worst case scenario. I used to do that when I was younger, and I realized that's just the definition of anxiety. You think about the worst case scenario to help you feel better and just, get it out of the way. But then you end up living in worst case scenario, and it's not real. So you just constantly replay something that's not real or present in your head, and you can't address it or fix it because it's not happening. So deal with each day, control what you can control, have your routine, invest in other things outside of work, stimulate your mind in that way. And remember, tomorrow's another day. Every win matters. So that's
And then just to chime in one more time, real quick before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing too, if you are a job seeker and if you are unfortunately affected by a layoff, use this time to focus on you. It's very rare that you get the opportunity to have so much downtime. Yes, it's a very stressful time too, not taking that away from anything, but it's a period of time where you can actually work on either your mental health, working on a project in your house or your apartment. Like, use that time. Do not spend all day on LinkedIn applying for jobs. I did that the first time, and it was torture. Set a goal for 3 jobs a day, if that, and then walk away and do something else. Do something that you wouldn't be able to do during the workday, and it really does help take your mind away from the stressful aspect of it.
Yes.
That's
Find the light in the times of right. That's really what it is. So,
that's a LinkedIn post, Lizzie, right there.
All right. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Right. Well, I hope everyone has a great weekend when you're hearing this. It means that we're close to the weekend on a Thursday, but thanks for sharing your advice, y'all. I know that it's something that, look, we're all in this together. And so hopefully these are some tidbits that people can take away and, really kind of help make their day brighter or just restarting the next day with some positivity. But that is all the time that we have for now. We actually kept this just right at around 10 this time, which is the goal. We normally don't do that. So until next time, we'll see you later.